If you're joining me live, drop live. If you are watching a replay, drop replay. And really today, what I wanted to talk about was my years through LinkedIn and seeing what separates the people that are getting just like barely any results, they're chasing the hamster wheel, versus those that are getting the pinnacle results, and they're both putting in the same amount of effort. So this is in regards to LinkedIn. First, I want to actually talk about LinkedIn for a second. So some quick stats if you're not currently on there, which this is going to be the most helpful for. So LinkedIn, right, they have almost 1 billion monthly users, and 16.2% of those are logging in every day. So this comes down to around 133 million people are logging in every day. And 80% of B2B leads come from LinkedIn versus 13% on Twitter, 7% on Facebook. For social media, everybody doing organic. I know a lot of you are B2B just like me, so knowing where they're at is super important and what's working. And so LinkedIn generates 3 times more B2B conversions than Twitter and Facebook is what we're basically getting out of that. Now, 77% of content marketers say that LinkedIn produces the best organic results. And Facebook comes in at second with 37%, which is less than half, followed by Instagram with 27% and YouTube with 21%. Not saying that you shouldn't use the others, but if you're not on LinkedIn, you could really be missing out. And according to recent reports, 80% of marketers that use automation software drive increased leads as much as 451% more, and that 77% of them convert more leads than those that don't use automation. Now, automation's like kind of a touchy subject for some people when it comes to LinkedIn and different things, but really the purpose of automation is just to handle the actions that are going to go out anyways. It doesn't mean that you should use a shotgun approach and have like really bad targeting. You should really just be using it as something that's almost like a necessity, because you're not going to wake up at, you're not going to set timers for every single task because you don't need to, because you can schedule a lot of that stuff out. So with these stats, I mean, clearly this is the best place to go for B2B. Now, the kind of like I was talking about in the beginning, at the bottom, these people, they're basically lost. So they don't have, the biggest thing that we see with them is that they don't have like their market really figured out. So they're kind of unknown, and they're kind of just talking to a really broad audience. And if you saw my post last week, you would have seen that I was saying that making marketing for one person, creating content for one person, whatever the experience is way better than creating for everyone, because they're going to feel like it's just made for them if you're targeting the right people. And so just that mindset shift makes a huge difference. There's other stages, and there's the pinnacle, but today I just want to talk about the people that are at that lower stage and try to help them get out of feeling lost. And so one of the biggest issues I see is focused targeting. People are targeting all over the place. They might be looking at, a lot of people just use Sales Navigator, and they're going and they're basically like looking at just the demographics. They're not focusing on what are these people actually doing. The second is, once we have these right people, okay, how can we be so irresistible to them and personalize it that it gets them to take action sooner? And one of the biggest things that I saw work was having things that are relevant, because relevancy drives urgency, right? If it's something that you see that you're interested in right now, that's a lot more urgent. And if someone researches on you, right, like I know you guys get DMs from people all the time that it's like they didn't even look at your profile and just the basics are there, right? So that shows that, since 99.9% of what you get is just spam and crap, if someone actually took the time to make a compelling and personalized approach to you, it would really stick out, right? So, and LinkedIn is the only place where you can add a connection note. So when you're reaching out to someone, it's probably a big reason that it does so well in B2B, is because if you're reaching out to someone and you want to talk to them, Facebook, Twitter, you can't exactly like add a connection. You can't add a note to what you're saying. So they have to judge your intentions, based on what you look like. And then they don't have really any structure for unstoppable growth or getting growth in general. A lot of people will just say, okay, we're going to try LinkedIn. We're going to try it for 3 months. And then if we can't get results by the end of that, then we're going to quit LinkedIn or whatever it is. A lot of things take a lot more time, and not all systems are the same, and everybody's business is unique. They have a unique market. You're unique. Your offer is unique. Your messaging is unique. There's variables that have never been tested before. So some people really need to not just judge it based on is it making money at the end, but what are the indicators along the way? What are the different hypotheses we have, and how can we actually create a structure that creates predictable growth on the way? And so, bringing it back down to what we were looking at before, if you have a really good lead gen strategy going on, it's going to be like super awesome because you're going to avoid the feast or famine, and you're going to have a warm list of people that know, like, and trust you. And ultimately, lead generation is about creating relationships and connecting to the people that you would enjoy to work with, that are the best caliber, and are going to value your services the best and are going to fit best within what you do. Also, I know I'm going like training format on a live, so if you have questions, drop them in the comments, and I will be I'll reply to those later. And if you're just hopping in now, drop live. If not, and you're watching later, do hashtag replay if you did not already put that. So if you don't have a good lead gen strategy currently going, you're going to be constantly chasing down your next paying client. Your revenue is going to be sporadic and unpredictable. I know, we get a lot of clients who come in and they've been working mostly through word of mouth and inbound for a lot of time, and then they come to us because they want to initiate their first. They want to go on the offensive on the marketing side. I view inbound as mostly like defensive or referrals as defensive. But in order to actually take charge and make change happen, actually going and marketing your business is going to, that just adds a whole lot more, people into the pipeline for you to be able to work with and actually turn into clients and nurture those relationships. So yeah, if you're going to be constantly chasing your next client, your revenue is going to be sporadic and unpredictable, which sucks, right? Because we want freedom, but we also want control. They kind of go hand in hand. So if you don't feel like you have control on the future and what's going on, that's not the most fun place to be in, especially if you have a team and all of that. That puts a lot of extra stress on what you have going on. And you're not hitting your discovery or strategy session goals, whatever you have for that, because it's not controllable. And then leads don't convert into clients. So a good lead generation strategy should actually help you nurture them into calls and into clients. And, there's different parts to that. A lot of times it's just follow-up. You might be saying the right things. You just need to keep moving them along. If you think about it, when's the last time that you wanted to buy something and then 2 weeks later you got something that reminded you of it and you're like, oh crap, I forgot to get that, right? We live in a super distracting world, and so do they. And especially on LinkedIn, because another stat I was looking at is that 61 million LinkedIn users are senior level influencers. And so if you're going for these high caliber, high level clients, they're going to be more distracted than other people. They usually have someone who's called a gatekeeper, who actually checks to see if what you have is relevant. And so that's something, just knowing that can help you make the difference. So this is Lost, and the top is Pinnacle. I'm going to talk about the next stage on the next live, so be on the lookout for that. Also, if you kind of want to see where you're at, because everyone fits within one of these stages, there is a link on my profile. And that should there should be a section on there that says where are you at on the curve? And if you take that quiz, it'll tell you exactly where you're at in here. But I will see you on the next one.